You know those moments when something really weird happens and you have to figure out what's actually going on? Well, get ready, because today we're tackling that exact feeling with the recent, quite mysterious destruction of the Georgia Guidestones.
Yeah, it happened so suddenly. Lots of questions swirling around.
Exactly. So we're going to dive deep into what this monument, this really enigmatic thing, was all about, and maybe more importantly, what its dramatic end might actually mean.
And our sources, they present a very, very specific interpretation. Some might even say unsettling.
Yeah.
They argue this wasn't just, random vandalism,
Right.
but a kind of public statement from a group they call the Oka Club, which in their view is this shadowy organization laying out what these sources term a blueprint for a, quote, great reset.
And for these sources, this Great Reset, it isn't just about economics, is it? It's like a whole societal restructuring plan.
That's the claim. And it's really key here as we unpack all this to remember we're reporting on these interpretations from our source material. We're not, endorsing them ourselves.
Absolutely crucial point. Keep that in mind, everyone.
But what's fascinating, or perhaps disturbing, depending on your view, is that these guidestones, put up way back in 1980, right, under a fake name.
R.C. Christian, yeah.
Right. These materials we're looking at, they saw them as, and this is a direct quote, the elite's 10 Commandments for the pawns.
Wow.
A master plan hidden in plain sight. So it really frames it less as some deep mystery and more as a very public statement, even if it was a bit coded.
Okay, so with that context, that crucial framing, let's really get into this blueprint our sources talk about. They mention the astronomical alignments, not just as cool architecture, but as a sort of declaration.
That the plan was, and they use this phrase, in sync with a great cosmic cycle. A sort of resonance with the universe, I suppose.
Implying legitimacy, maybe?
Perhaps. And these 10 guides, carved in 8 different languages. The sources are explicit. They call it a blueprint for the management of a smaller, more controlled zoo.
A zoo, that's quite the image.
It is. And for these sources, it's not just abstract, it's a specific philosophy. Let's take the first commandment.
Okay.
It says, maintain humanity under 500 vils and thousand in perpetual balance with nature.
Under 500 million. That's a huge reduction from where we are now.
Exactly. And our sources, they read this as a direct and undisguised confession of their plan for a massive culling of the human population.
A culling. Strong words.
Very. And that phrase, balance with nature, they see it cynically, like the balance achieved by a zookeeper managing a herd.
That's an incredibly stark interpretation from these materials. So how does the second command fit in, the one about guiding reproduction?
Ah, yes. Guide reproduction, wisely improving fitness and diversity.
How does that connect to the first idea, according to them?
Well, according to the material we've looked at, this is seen as nothing less than a charter for their eugenics program.
Eugenics, okay.
Yeah, they argue it treats humanity like livestock, basically, to be bred for traits that are, quote, beneficial to the game, meaning the agenda of this OK Club.
And what traits are those?
Things like docility, strength, and, importantly, a lack of rebellious spirit. Again, it's a very provocative interpretation presented in these sources.
It certainly paints a picture of, well, extreme control, if you accept this view. And it doesn't stop there, right? Language is next.
Command 3, unite humanity with a living new language.
What's the concern there for the people interpreting these stones?
It seems to boil down to control over information itself. The analysis in these sources suggests a plan to, and I quote, seize control of the cipher itself.
The cipher, meaning language.
Essentially, yeah. Creating a language they believe would be stripped of the ancient divine truths. The goal, according to this view, is to prevent certain people, referred to as watchers, from decrypting the lore, a term they use for hidden, deeper wisdom. It's about controlling communication at its core.
Controlling thought by controlling language. Okay. Then our sources zero in on Commandment 4. Rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things with tempered reason. This sounds potentially controversial.
Deeply so, in their reading. What's asserted here is a command to, quote, suppress the divine.
Suppress the divine.
They believe the aim is to replace humanity's, let's say, fiery, chaotic, and spiritual nature with something they describe as cold, clinical, and materialistic reason. A fundamental shift.
Imposed from the top down, presumably.
That's the implication.
Which then leads us to number 5, which these sources find particularly revealing. Prize, truth, beauty, love, seeking harmony with the infinite. Seems positive on the surface.
But the interpretation is anything but. It's described as a cynical act of inversion.
Inversion. How so?
The perspective we're exploring argues that these sacred concepts, truth, beauty, love, are basically co-opted, twisted.
Yeah.
They suggest that their truth just becomes propaganda. And their harmony, it's described starkly as the silence of a perfectly managed prison.
So, redefining core values to fit an agenda.
That's the argument presented in these materials, yes. A complete redefinition.
Okay, so if these are the tenets of the blueprint, according to our sources, what about the destruction, that recent event? Our materials say it wasn't just vandalism.
Exactly. The destruction in this narrative is framed not as random, but as a kind of ritual.
A ritual.
Yeah, a deliberate signal from this OK Club to other players involved in their plans.
A signal saying what?
The message, as interpreted by these sources, is blunt. The public planning phase is over. They suggest the blueprint, the Guidestones themselves, has been taken off the table. The plans have, and this is their phrasing, moved underground into their bunkers.
Underground. So the hidden phase begins.
That's the declaration they see in the demolition. Essentially, the time for writing the rules is over. The time for enacting them is now.
Right. So we've traced this narrative from a public, albeit cryptic, declaration carved in stone to what these sources allege is a shift, a move towards secret implementation.
A significant shift if their interpretation holds.
It really leaves you thinking, doesn't it? If these complex plans are now supposedly underground, as these sources claim, because it's go time, well, it makes you wonder, what might the first visible signs of this alleged Great Reset actually look like out here in the real world around us?
That's the question they leave us with. What happens next?